task as a team, we'll have another one who'll join us shortly, is to come up with a name very quickly. And then I'm just going to allocate a team first. Okay, you guys are going to be a team.
Yeah, we know.
Good. Just so you know. All right. This is a game that I like to call the Jeopardy of intention. So it works a bit like this. Your team, you can tell me what your names are as we go. The first team selected basically gets to pick a category. You have to then work down the line. So if a question has already been asked, so a 10-point question, you can then go for a 20-point question in that category, or you can hedge your bet and go to a 10-point category in another category. That made sense to me. Don't know if it made sense to anybody else. The categories are, okay, the tricky one, because we haven't talked about it today, is intention in family and social relationships. We have commercial. We have preliminary agreements. We have random questions about intention. And we have some revision questions about stuff you should already know. As a general rule, a 50-point question is likely to be harder than a 10-point question. But maybe not, right? Okay, because as a lecturer, as a game show host, I'm a bloody good lecturer or something like that. So I've just made this up as I go. You get to work on your answer as a team. All right, to throw something else into this. So basically, and it'll be one at a time, I will work it out, which team is going. If your team, when it's not your turn, you should also work out what the answer is and agree something. You can challenge, right? If the team whose turn it is gives an answer and you think it is wrong, you can challenge and provide your answer. If you are right, as a challenging team, you get double the number of points that the team whose turn it was would have got, and they get nothing. But if you are wrong, you lose double the number of points that the team that would have done it gets, and go from there. This is a team sport. All right. I'm going to start with these ladies here. Do you have a team name? Okay, their team name is We Don't Have a Team Name. Okay, we'll just call them No Name. Okay. Would you like to select a category? Okay, so you don't get a lot of options here. You have to go for number. What is the rebuttable presumption with business or commercial agreements? Have a chat amongst yourselves, agree and answer the rest of you. Do something to challenge if you wish. So if you're listening at home, chances are this is ridiculous and boring, but you have an opportunity to join me on Sunday night at a toot, and where we will just do this again, but probably with different questions. All right, how are we feeling? Do we have an agreed answer? Okay, you guys listening? You ready? A rebuttable presumption is?
Yeah, so basically with a commercial agreement, by the time we make the presumption that it has the intention to be legally binding. However, the party who wish to raise that it's not in their intention, the presumption can be rebutted.
It can be rebutted by the party
who wish to raise the issue that it's not their intention to be legally binding, and the onus of proof is on them.
So the onus of proof is on the party wishing to demonstrate that the commercial agreement was not intended to be binding. Do we have a challenger in relation to that? No challenge? Okay, so excellent answer. Thank you, Lexi. Rebuttable presumption, it's just a presumption. In business or commercial agreements, there's a rebuttable presumption that they do intend to be legally binding. The only thing that you could have done to really improve an answer in that context would be to use a case. Okay, so I'm giving you 10 points, and I'm going back to the beginning. All right, this team here, do you have a name? The Flavellas. You're going to give me something I can't spell. All right, the Flavellas. What category? Do you want to go for 20 points in commercial, or do you want to open up a new category here? Okay, 20 points. You want to take an early lead? Let's see if you can do it. All right, what's an honour clause and what is its effect? All right, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to have a chat. Might get my timer out to make it fair. Next week is a week off. All right, how you guys going? All right, I think you've had enough time. What do we reckon? Flavellas?
So we thought a good definition would be an honorary clause is not a formal agreement, but only a record of our intention to pledging our mutual loyalty and friendly cooperation.
So, an honour clause, it sounds to me like you were quoting from a case there.
I sure was.
And what case would it be that you were quoting from? Rose and Frank. So, sorry, can you say those words again in my microphones because I won't repeat them properly?
This is not a formal agreement, but only a record of our intention to pledging our mutual loyalty and friendly cooperation.
Okay, so you're using an example of an honour clause to explain what an honour clause is. Do we have any challenges? I would like to point out, and you're finished with your answer at that point? It's not legally binding, so that's the effect. So again, because two parts to the question, we need to answer the question every time we answer the question.
So the effect is to overturn that presumption.
To overturn what presumption?
The presumption that a contract is
A contract between
commercial entities.
Yep, or people. Yeah, in a commercial context might be another way. I was just trying to hint. So the presumption for commercial contracts is that they will be binding. That would be evidence that an honour clause, worded in the way that Grace worded it, so just showing our mutual sincerity and love for each other, and our moral obligation would be clear that it is an honour clause, that it's binding in honour or moral duty only and not intended to be legally effective. Do we have a challenger? Pretty much, I think we were there. Valid honour clauses, and it's important to actually make sure in an answer that there are lots of things that will purport to be honour clauses. So we could use the A&I, the Spedley case, as an example of something that purported to be an honour clause, but ultimately the court found that there was intention, that it was binding. So a valid honour clause will prevent the agreement itself from being, or the section of the agreement that it deals with, from being found to be binding. All right, 20 points for you. The next group, what are you called? Jousting sticks. Tell him he's dreaming. Okay, and are you going 30? 30 for the lead. Whoa, ho, ho, ho.
So we can challenge table 1 over there for the 50.
Charlie asks his father Martin to lend him $10,000 to start a business. Martin agrees to lend Charlie the money at 4% below the bank interest rate, but then he later refuses to give Charlie the money, and Charlie has to borrow it from the bank at commercial rates. Can Charlie sue Martin? What happens between those sheens stays between those sheens.
Microphone pick that up.
Possibly. I'm not repeating it for you. Okay, come on. Here's an opportunity for challenge for those of you. What do you think? Very quiet over here. Aren't you? These are like exam questions. So in an exam, you get to be quiet. So you guys are really practicing that. I can see. I'm in awe. I really need to find. Oh, here. Oh. That's not good. How are we going? We got an answer yet? All right. I'm giving you another minute. I'm making online music. I should be really quiet actually so that I know which bits to cut out. That would be better, wouldn't it? All right, you're going to need to make a call soon. I'm giving you 16. You got an answer? Okay, guys, listen up. Let's hear this answer. Right on time, too. Guys, come on.
So we looked at the case as a whole. So first, it's between two family members.
Yeah.
That's one layer of it. The second is Charlie gave no consideration to his father Martin for the interest rates.
Really?
And
He's paying 4% less than the bank. Doesn't say he's paying no interest.
But,
Sorry, I'm just thinking if I can earn points. Like,
and he acted in reliance of a promise as opposed to giving something in exchange.
so you reckon he can sue? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. So just summarising, family relationship. So the onus is on him to demonstrate intention.
Yep.
Can't see consideration.
Yep.
And that, sorry, you had a third point and it's just escaped me.
Oh,
The acting in reliance. So acting, I'm not sure. Do you want to just clarify that a little bit more? What's he doing in reliance on what?
So he was relying on his father's promise, and it wasn't in exchange for nothing.
Okay. So, that's same as the consideration point. If you're not seeing consideration, do we have a challenger? There was so much animated conversation, and we don't have a challenger. Can I give you a hint? This is a good challenge. There is opportunity here to challenge. You guys are risk adverse, aren't you? This is what's wrong with the profession. Okay, up here, what's out? Too late?
So, I think that there is a rebuttable presumption that because Martin and Charlie are related to each other, that there is no intention to create legal relations.
Yep.
However, because there is an agreement to lend money at a certain percent interest rate,
Yep.
I would argue that that presumption in this case is rebuttable because it transforms the relationship a little bit above, or it takes it into a different, I guess, context than it would be otherwise. That's what I've got.
Okay, anybody want to add anything to that? So, sorry, I better repeat for the recording. So, there is a rebuttable presumption. Does your team have a name, by the way? Team 4. Team 4, the very creatively named Team 4, are saying that, yes, it's a family relationship, so there is a presumption that there is no intention to create a legal relationship, but it's a rebuttable presumption, and in this case, it has some kind of commercial flavour to it. There is an interest rate, albeit a generous one, and the subject matter appears to be commercial. It's lending money to fund a business venture. It's not just filling up the car with petrol or whatever. I put those words into your mouth, but they would be things that suggest that it has the flavour of a commercial and a binding arrangement. So you are saying that, yeah, Charlie can sue Martin if he wants to. And Team 4, I am going to give you 60 points. Oh, an early lead and a big one here. So cases that would have helped you there, in there as well. So Todd and Nickel, we haven't really talked about these today. So Todd and Nickel is the case where there's an old lady who lived in South Australia from memory. She was Scottish. She asked her sister-in-law and her niece to come and look after her in her old age and promised them if they would come that she would transfer the house to them on her death. And so they packed up their house and sold it. The niece quit her job. They spent 6 weeks travelling over the ocean to come to Australia, and they looked after her, but then they had a falling out and she kicked them out of the house. Then she died. She didn't leave the house to them. So the question was it a contract or not? Now, it turns out at the end of the day they were stopped from exercising it because they were just nasty piece of work. But the court found that, yes, it was something above and beyond the normal relationship of family members, and that they were doing something that had this quid pro quo character to it. So this looks like a commercial arrangement. since homogeneous, the presumption, they're not difficult to address. It has a commercial flavour to it. Yes, it's a generous interest rate. I did hear one of the groups talk about, well, what if he was joking? There's nothing in the facts that suggests that there was a joke in there, but what if you assumed that he was joking? Could that have made a difference?
Which person?
If Charlie, the father, is... He would have to have known. And so if as objectively as if part of the relationship, you're used to your father making promises that he doesn't keep and thinking it's hilarious, that might have made some contribution too. So it was certainly relevant. Yeah, there we go. So well done, team 4. Where do you want to go from here? Are you confident? Are you the kind of team that hedges their bets, or are you going in hard and fast?
100.
You're going to go for some revision. Okay, so they're not risk takers after all. Oh, I've got to find my... What is the difference between an invitation to treat and an offer? I'll give you a minute. Think amongst yourselves. Think amongst yourself, talk amongst yourselves. Of course, if you're at home, you can just think amongst yourself. Beep. I think that would be great, actually. I don't like exams. I like marking them. They're a lot easier to mark, to be fair. So I do like them, but I genuinely don't think they're very good for your learning. And who wants to go and see a lawyer with a problem that was one of the 49% of things they didn't know about on their exams? It's probably worse if you're seeing a doctor in that position. Okay. I'm not giving you too much time for this one. Easy peasy. What is the difference between an offer and an invitation to treat?
Okay, so an invitation to treat is like an invitation to enter into negotiations as opposed to a steadfast offer. We use the Boots case.
Yep, Boots is... Yeah, Boots. And actually, just on that, particularly if you're writing an exam, not so great in an assignment, but in an exam, if you don't waste your time looking up whatever it is, the Royal Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain v. Boots, blah, 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 and whatever. Just if you know it's Boots, just say Boots and move on, okay? Like, I'm not impressed by your ability to look things up in an exam. So, yeah, but, yeah, there you go. So, invitation to treat, Boots is your example. It's an invitation to negotiate or to make an offer. So, what's an offer, and how is it different from that?
So it differs from an offer where the offer comes directly from the offerer to the offeree.
An offer is made from an offeror to an identifiable person, an offeree.
And the difference between an invitation to treat, the offerer is the person that you're treating with.
So well, if they make an offer, they're the person. So the person that you have invited to treat then can make an offer. Any challenges there? Anything anybody wants to add? Thinking a little bit more could be done with the offer piece, just saying. Anything? You want to learn? It contains the DNA of deal. I've made that up this semester, and it's sticking in my brain. Whether it sticks in others, I don't know if it's useful or not. So, general rule: offers can only be accepted by the person to whom they are made. Offer indicates an intention by the offeror to be bound without further discussion or negotiation on acceptance of the terms set out. Okay, I think you could have done more in your definition of what an offer is. But your invitation to treat is absolutely on. So, and I think actually what you've done better than this slide has done, which is why I'm going to give you the 10 points, is you went to the question, which is what are the differences? What are the key differences? So these are kind of like the sort of notes that I make in my marking guides, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not an exact science, so I look at how it works. So you are now at 70 points, which brings us back to the team with no name. Where would you like to go from here?
All right,
40 in commercial. Frank and Ben, his son Ben, they didn't get on. Frank owned a delivery company which Ben frequently used for his furniture business. Frank was delivering an antique dining setting for Ben by truck when the truck was involved in an accident. The dining setting was damaged beyond repair. Ben wants to sue Frank for damages for breach of contract. Did Ben and Frank have a legally binding contract? All right, give you a couple of minutes. Think about this. Remember my advice recently that many of us are not very creative people, so sometimes we look at the cases to come up with problems. Not saying that I would ever do that, but you know, I just thought I'd remind you of that fact. Okay, how close are you? I'm going to give you another minute maximum. I don't think you need it by just what I'm listening, but... You ready? All right, tell me. What do we think?
So firstly, we believe this is a commercial interaction rather than a familial one on the two parties in a commercial relationship.
Do we have any challenges?
Sorry? Oh, the case is...
Case is, yeah?
I can't say it. Rufus and Brewster?
I would say Rufus and Brewster, but that doesn't mean it's right. I'm just guessing how people pronounce their names just the same as everybody else. Challenge, observations, insights. I like your thinking. Yeah, I think it is highly binding. I would be careful. I like your thinking, but I would be careful jumping to some of those conclusions. Like there would be consideration. I would probably frame that in an exam, particularly in a slightly negative way. It's like there's nothing in the problem or the facts presented to indicate that there wasn't consideration. You know, I know that double negative is a little bit messy, but and you can make an assumption that because they didn't get along, that is one of the factors that, you know, it's less likely that the father is doing it out of his love of helping his son out in his antiques business. Yeah, basically, yeah, just be careful with the assumptions. And just as a general rule, if you're going to make an assumption about someone, articulate that it's an assumption. So I'm assuming that there was consideration because there's nothing in the problem that indicates that that's a problem. But if there was no consideration, then it would be a different issue. Let's go back. So you guys got 40 for that. There you go. Here we go, Flavellas.
50.
Oh, nice. All right. 50 on the commercial relationships. Oh, and don't you love it when there's a key case that wasn't discussed in the lead up? So in the decision of the administration of Papua New Guinea and Lae, a 1961 case when, by the way, Papua New Guinea was an Australian territory at that time, why did the court hold that there was no legally binding agreement? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to talk about it and then ask. By the way, I saw a couple of you taking photos of these slides. These slides are quite good for revision purposes, and I will make them available to you after I do this. We do this for obvious reasons. As in, there's no benefit in me just telling you what the answer is in the slide pack. I haven't made it available beforehand. Okay, what do we think? It's time.
So, in what seems to be the classic case with government contracts, it's very difficult to force them to do anything.
We are seeing a theme here.
In this case, they were doing some de-ticking of sheep.
De-ticking of...
Preventing ticks.
It was cattle, wasn't it?
Was it cattle? Cattle? Okay.
I could be wrong, by the way, just because I remember the case facts in a particular way.
I just remember that some people doing it were drunk.
Yes, they were drunk and lying around under the trees and chewing kava or something or other. Yeah.
But essentially, it was held that the de-ticking was done as a result of, it was a government policy, and the department was just enacting that and providing gratuitous assistance.
Interesting word, gratuitous assistance. What does that go to in particular? Gratuitous, what does it mean? Do it for free? Yeah. Yeah? So, goes to consideration.
And there was it wasn't like a contract for them to de-tick these sheep cattle.
Okay, so found no intention, yeah? So why, okay, let's just, why did the court find?
Because they were enacting a government policy.
So they were just enacting a policy and on a gratuitous basis, no consideration was found, so no intention. Do we have a challenger? Yeah, basically. Well done. Nice work. So, what was that? So 70 points here. We've gone to the lead. Jousting sticks, time for you to stand up and be counted. Where would you like to go? No, you can only go to 10. You can only go to 10 or you can go to 20 on revision. 20 on a revision question. That's not gruesome. Give me a definition. Can you see we get to the last column and I got a bit bored? No, not at all. All right, come on, this is a nice quick one. What is it? What's obiter dicta?
Comments made
Guys, listen, you might want to challenge.
to the judgment, which is the ratio, so it's a Latin phrase.
It's a Latin phrase, and it. I'm just repeating.
That's 10 points at least. Orbiter dictum, so it's around the ratio.
Around, okay. And sorry, it's you.
It's made in, their comments made in passing in the judgment, which is not.
Made in passing to the judgment, extraneous to the judgment, not essential to the reasoning. Yeah, not the judgment. Not the judgment. It's kind of like, who were you to start off with? You were not Tobias, so now it's not the judgment. Okay, as I was getting your name sorted. Oh, yeah, the feedback, it's going to hurt me, I can tell. Do we have a challenge? Do we have a challenger? No, I wouldn't be challenging there either. Technically, it is by the way. I guess, not necessarily just in passing, but be a little bit careful with that. Statements of principles which the court refers to but aren't the basis of the final decision. And sometimes we can learn quite a lot from the obiter, particularly as the law continues its path of evolution. All right. I'm going to give you 15 because I called you not to bias again. Turn that frown upside down. All right. Where are we up to? Over here. Team 4. You're going for the 30 in the revision. Nobody wants to talk about intention today. You just want to win.
Kath, I think they were meant to get 20 before the extra 5 points.
Ah. Oh, did I?
Can we get 25? Yeah.
Yes, sorry. Let me just do that again. 25. Sorry. Whoa.
Can we get 5 points for honesty?
If you get the next question right, for sure. Okay, table 4. Stephen agrees to sell Emma a consignment of widgets for $10,000 with delivery to Northcote. Please advise Stephen whether it would be wise to ensure that the terms of the agreement are in writing and why this is or this isn't necessary. You may not have come across the term widgets before. Widget is, I don't even know where it comes from. It's basically legal slang for stuff when we're using an example in a case. So the term widget, you will find judges talk about widgets. It's just like stuff, equipment. It's not land. I will give you that. So why should Steve use a written agreement, or why doesn't it matter? All right, what do we think? It's got an answer? Okay, guys, listen up. Can you use your outdoor voice?
Yeah.
So I don't have to repeat everything.
We say it is not necessary to ensure that the terms of the agreement are in writing, because you can still have an enforceable agreement without it being written.
Okay.
However,
However,
we would advise Stephen that it would be very wise to get the agreement in writing, because it then becomes very obvious the parties' intent in both signing the agreement, and it's a deed, I believe, after you put it in writing, which makes it immediately enforceable.
You
How much
can
easier to
you
enforce?
can use a deed. You don't need consideration if you use a deed, but a deed is just one way of documenting or putting an agreement into writing. But at common law, it doesn't have to be a deed if you've got all of the other elements there.
And it's easier to identify offer and acceptance.
Easier to identify offer and acceptance. Anything else? So what you're saying to him, I just want to summarise to make sure we're all on the same page, is that because this is for something where there isn't a formalities requirement, we haven't actually talked about what those are yet, there's no need for there to be an agreement. In order to have a binding contract, as long as we've got agreement which comprises offer, acceptance, or some meeting of the minds, consideration, intention, and certainty, then we can have a binding agreement. But if it's in writing, we can look at the piece of paper that contains what the terms are and to see what it is that the parties have promised each other, and we don't have to go to court to rely on all of these objective tests. I put a few words in your mouth there, I think. Exactly what you said. All right, do we have a challenger? So let us have a look and let me award some points. Other reasons. Putting things in writing often goes to certainty as much as anything else, which you haven't got to yet. Also, it gives you something to put into evidence so we don't have to mess around with the courts otherwise. So 30 points for you guys brings you up to the ton. There we go, 100 points for them. All right, who's next? Oh, let me just, here we go. All right. You're next? Okay, do you want to revise? Do you want to go for the points? Given what random has to offer, okay. That's actually a really interesting balance between both being incredibly brave and incredibly conservative at the same time. Like, I really kind of like it. Why do the parties need to show an intention to be bound before their agreement will be enforced? Whew, suddenly everybody's gone really quiet. Very quiet. Oh, time to sit down, I think. It's gone very quiet.
It's actually harder than it looks. Well, for me anyway. I don't know it down pat,
Sometimes we can overthink things, I think. Just. All right, I think that's, give us a go. What do you reckon the answer is? Go, Alexi.
It helps us distinguish between the actual agreement, legally binding agreement, and just statement, just random topics.
So, looking for intention helps us distinguish between an arrangement that a legal agreement as opposed to the kinds of agreements that aren't legal, like social agreements, social arrangements, people joking with each other, etc. So why, that's what it is. I'll give you at least that. Why does the court, why does the law look to that?
People who didn't intend to be bound shouldn't then be held.
Because if parties didn't intend to be bound, they shouldn't be required to be held to this private law, to use that language, that otherwise wouldn't apply to them. And it's the nature of an agreement, a contract, is that it will be legally enforceable. So the courts aren't interested in your social arrangements or your jokes or whatever. It needs to be, your intention needs to be that your arrangement could have gone in front of a court and be dealt with in that way. I think I'm just giving you the answer there. Dixon, Williams, Webb, Fulliger and Kitto, full court of the High Court in Australian Woolen Mills. It is at the essence of contract regarded as a class of obligations that there is a voluntary assumption of a legally enforceable duty. So it's the intention of the parties to be bound that creates the private law, as opposed to, if you want to be a citizen of this country, public laws are going to apply to you. Okay? Alrighty, I'm going to give you 10 there, maybe. Okay, let's just call that 60. Flavella's here. You want to go to 40 in revision. Oh, I love it when the Kardashians fight over shoes. Kim has an informal arrangement with Chloe under which Kim sends Chloe 1,000 pairs of shoes each month, unless Chloe telephones her first to stop delivery. The arrangement has been in place for 2 years. Last month, Kim sent the shoes, but Chloe refused to accept delivery or pay for them because she said she didn't formally order them. Can Kim demand payment? I am more than happy if you don't actually end up with an answer on this one, but that you unpick what the problem, what the legal issues are. That will be enough. And give me some cases. Your time starts on now. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes, so in fact it starts now. By the way, can you assume that these Kardashians are in Victoria and not confuse this by applying the laws of a different place? The group that is supposed to be answering this, all of you are silent. I'm not sure that that's the best way to get to consensus on the end. I could be wrong. I think developing a healthy amount of ESP is a good thing for a lawyer. I usually charge extra for it with my clients, like if they need it, but the jousting sticks over there are also very quiet. Okay, unpick it for me. What are the issues? Is there a contract or not? Headline issue. So what are the key things that you need to think about? What do you think is the key formation element that might be missing or might be intention? Intention in what respect?
Well, I would have thought, intention for it to be legally binding.
for what to be legally binding. Sorry, I know I'm being a bit obtuse, but the agreement. So we're looking at, so part of your question is there an agreement to take 1,000 pairs of shoes a month? Or is each delivery of the shoes a separate agreement? What do we think?
Specifically, we think it's a long-standing arrangement.
A standing arrangement, yeah, okay, cool.
Also relevant is consideration. It's not entirely clear under this description of the material facts whether or not there's been consideration.
Okay, so what do you reckon would be a reasonable assumption about consideration, just given the wording of the... That there has been in the past. Accepting delivery and refusing delivery would suggest that she doesn't want to pay for them this time. But again, if you assumed there was never any... What would the impact be if you assumed there's never been any consideration? She just took 1,000 pairs of shoes every month. Then there'd be no... It wouldn't be a binding arrangement anyway. It would just be weird. But, again... It's always good to make an assumption and try to make the assumption that makes sense. But if you make the wrong assumption and you still follow through, as long as you follow through consistently, I will pay that. So any other issues that might be standing there?
We would say as a possible counter-argument that might come against it, what was the name of the case? Other than an acceptance, which
Okay.
is
So I just want to summarise just in case it doesn't get caught on the tape. Not that I think anybody will listen to this tape, but you never know. That the issue that you are worried about is whether silence can constitute an acceptance. Feldhaus and Bindley would say that it can't, but you would distinguish this case on the basis of prior conduct and what had actually happened. There is a case, you remember, relating to the firm of architects and the builder. Sorry, what was it? Empinol Holdings and McMahon, where there was their conduct, it was more than just silence, that they had acted in a way that demonstrated that they understood what the contract was. Anybody want to add anything, challenge in relation to that? Do you have more to say that I've left out?
You say that it's a family arrangement?
Well, other than the names and me calling them Kardashians, I'm not entirely sure that that's a valid... But
I thought that was a key part of the facts that you mentioned.
no, well, I mentioned it, and you could make that assumption, absolutely. So, basically, the way that it works, the language you used early on there, the standing order, is exactly right. It would be a standing offer. So the offer itself gets repeated. It's most likely to be separate contracts each time. And then the question goes to intent. So, Chloe has waived her right to have each acceptance formally communicated before it becomes binding. So,
Does the contract each time it's sent?
yeah. So it's a standing offer. There's a range of offers, but there is a process by which she can accept or reject.
Why is it not one contract with monthly?
Oh, look, we don't have enough facts. It could be a monthly subscription contract, but the fact that she can reject, she can pick up the phone and say, don't send it this month, suggests that it's a series of offers. So,
When did actually acceptance happen? By the actual delivery occurring or by arrival at her address?
I think that acceptance happens, just look at the facts again properly, that she accepts by not telephoning at a particular point in time. So it is actually, I think Empinol and McMahon would help you with that there is a process by which, so just, any of you ever entered into those contracts where they send you a book every month or a magazine or whatever it is, and if you can cancel, actually, Netflix or Prime Video or whatever, it's like you sign up to it, and if you cancel by a certain date, then you no longer get it. But
It's not offering acceptance every month with Netflix, is it?
well, Netflix is probably a bad example because you're getting the same thing every month. But with one of those, we're going to deliver you a new classic novel or a wine. Yeah, actually. But nobody rejects that. Like, I can't imagine that where anybody actually rings up and says, "Don't send me wine." You're just fooling me. That is a ridiculous thing to say. Let me go back. I'm giving you that. That was a tricky one. It was a tricky one. All right. Jousting sticks. Do you want to just go hard or go home? Or do you want to play safe? For the 50. Go hard or go home. Okay. Bella owes Dante $2,500 due and payable on the 13th of April. On the 5th of April, Bella explains that she's having some liquidity problems. Dante says, if you can raise $2,000 now and let me have your cheque for that amount on the 13th of April, I'll forget the rest. Part 1, is that enforceable? Part 2, would your answer be different if Dante said, give me $2,000 now and forget the rest? I reckon this is one all of you will know, actually. I don't think there's going to be a lot. I think they've been strategic. How are we doing time-wise? All right, how you going, jousting sticks? 30 seconds, you can have 30. Don't envy you having to walk with a crutch, I have to say. It's not good.
In 2 weeks, I will get my surgery done.
All right.
During
Okay.
the
During the break. Well, good luck with that. I hope it works well. All right. Yeah, but nobody's going to listen to this one. But don't tell me anything personal. Just mind you, if you are listening to this and you are actually finding this a useful kind of way to listen to a class, please let me know how and why, because
I owe you away.
hey, there are face-to-face people who aren't here too. But all right, let's have an answer, guys. What do we reckon? Come on. Time to commit. All right. Part 1. Is Dante's offer enforceable?
Yes, because of Pinel's case. And oh no, sorry. I did the wrong way.
Go.
Let's just give you bad info, guys. I revoked that statement. Wipe from the register.
Wipe it from the registers. Maybe don't revoke all of it. I think the Pinel's case is on the right track.
Because
Folks and beer for the $2,000 on the same day.
Yeah.
Payment a lesser sum on the same day can't be considered enforceable.
Okay, let's unpick that and make sure that we're saying exactly. No. How about I have a go at reframing what you were saying?
Yes.
So, in relation to part B, you're saying folks and beer would say that that is enforceable because the money that. Oh, okay, no.
It's not enforceable because the money's lesser.
In
but
relation
paid
to
on the
part
same
B?
day. This is part A.
Part A, okay, sorry, I thought you said part. Okay, folks and beer in relation to part A would say, folks and beer, referring to Pinnell's case,
Yes.
would say it's not enforceable because there is no consideration for the agreement to reduce the amount and it's an existing legal duty to pay that, there is no change. But folks and beer would also say that part B would be enforceable because there is consideration, that there is the benefit of getting some of it early.
Yep.
Is that right? Do we all agree with that? Not in. No. Okay. Can't find it. So Dane's not getting anything more. Folks and beer is probably above and beyond. But at the end of the day, folks and beer is where we know that Pinnell's case became law. Well done. 75. All right, last one. Table 4. Where do you want to go? Because we are at the end and people will want to go home, I'm going to let you pick anything. Any category, any number. You need 20 points to win.
go for a 50, I reckon.
You go for a 50 and pretty much anybody in this place can win if they challenge you. When I say any that have not yet been asked, just to clarify. 20 from random. You guys are weird. What is meant by the term rebuttable presumption? Some of them are harder than others. All right, I'm not giving you very long on this one because I like to try and finish by 8:15 and that's 3 minutes away. So I'm giving you a minute. There were trophies. I told you there would be trophies.
Those are the runner-up ones, yeah?
We got points because we're the only one that
Okay, guys, up the back. Look, who'd have thunk it? The trophies are breaking. What's your answer? The answer is... Hey, guys, listen. Thank you. Rebuttable presumption.
Rules that apply unless there is evidence to the contrary. If your onus of proving otherwise being on the party who's disputing the application of that rule. And we've got...
Genus will help you with that, absolutely. Do we have a challenger? I didn't need to get the last bits of my little plastic out. I think, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a winner. Well done. Woo! So, the prize of great importance is, of course, your trophies. I'm expecting like a... Team, yes, yeah, it is in invisible engraving, one each. I need to get a group shot. But what I really need is to know what need to work out what pop culture reference you want to challenge me to use as characters in your next assignment. I'm going to finish up here. For those of you who come to the tute, we will play this same game, only we will start with the columns that weren't used. So there's a little bit more. I will release this slide pack after the tute, okay? So that it's not floating around when we do this stuff. Not that it really matters, but it's more fun for it to be done properly. No class next week. I know you'll miss me terribly. I'll miss you. I'm going to Western Australia for a couple of days. In fact, I fly back in on the morning of our next class, so hopefully I will be awake. Have a great break. Try and take a bit of a break. I know you've only actually been studying for 6 weeks. I know I'm a very amusing person sometimes. Seriously though, yeah, try and take a break. For some of you, that will mean actually forcing yourselves to take the break early so that you can then do the work a little bit later. For others, it will be about having the discipline of just doing it all in one big lot. But, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. November will be on us before you know it. So take care, everybody, and I will see you very shortly.